Hello, my name is Samir, and in this video, I just want to talk about depression, suicide, and how these notions have affected my life and my experiences so far. Um, I'm not a therapist, and I'm not a doctor, so nothing in this video is any professional advice, and it's just a video to process my thoughts, and if I can reach anyone out there and give him an insight that will help him with his troubles, then it's all that I really want. That's all I want to do. So I'll just make a quick recap about my life, what has happened so far, and what what how depression has been a main drive and influence in my life, and how it has marked me and being a constant influence how I lived my life. So I grew up in the south of Spain, and my childhood was just incredible. It was amazing. I mean, up to puberty, so all my childhood, I would spend a lot of time outside. I had a huge circle of friends, and I would just be outside all the time, playing games, being very creative, and just living the moment. If there was a word how I would describe it, it would just be magic. It was unbelievable. Just every day was just like the best movie of your life. It's just all adventure. We would be playing outside all the time, and because in Spain it'd be very light and warm during most of the year, so we'd be spending a lot of time outside, and even until 1 p.m. sometimes. And because I had so many friends, we would just have so many different games we would play, and time how we would spend it. My childhood took time around the 2000s, beginnings of 2000s, and at this time we had no cell phones, no smartphones. We started to have computers at home, and so I just spent a lot of time just living outside and living how it's supposed to be as a kid, just being adventurous, and not much interaction with technology, which was fine. I wasn't so good at school. I didn't like school so much. I did like some subjects. Biology was nice. It just depends on what interested me, but most things were just boring. I just couldn't stand it to go to class every day and sit around and listen to a teacher for an hour to teach me subjects, and you would just suck it up everything every day, and by the end of after a couple of months you'd have to just write a test and prove that you know the themes and the topics, but all it takes is just to study it and remember everything, and then, like they say, to just vomit it out and write it down, whatever you can remember. And if you pass, you pass, and if you can't remember it, you don't pass. It's just ridiculous. I didn't like it, so I didn't fare so good at school. I passed most of it, but I didn't fare so well, and I didn't like it. I just liked a lot being outside and playing, and being just adventurous. I like nature very much, and being outside is very important to me. So being in school and being confined to a closed space for a long period of time is just not my thing. So yeah, it's just my childhood, incredible, unbelievable. Wouldn't change it for anything. Even nowadays, I still think back to it it's and think that it was one of the best times of my life. And it just always brings me back like warm memories how I lived. Um, so like I said, I did not have that much interaction with technology when I was young, at least a child. We did have a computer. I mean, this was the early 2000s. There was barely an internet connection. There was no online gaming and stuff like that, and definitely no big games. I mean, I had everything. Also, I mean, I didn't lack anything. I had consoles and I could play video games, but coming up to puberty, the beginnings of puberty, I'm a late bloomer, I believe. About 14, 15, I started to develop a video game addiction and draw back to, just spending time online. This is the time when I got a computer for myself, and it started with Counter-Strike, first-person shooter. I just spent a lot of time just playing it for no particular reason. I just like guns and shooting, and I don't know, it was just something that I enjoyed so much. It just sucked me. I would just always look forward when I was at school to go back home and just play video games. I just loved them very much. Just any ones I could get my hands on, I loved them. Playing on a console and playing online was just a very exciting thing. I don't know how to explain it. It's just, don't know. So Counter-Strike I played for a couple of years probably. And a big turnaround was about 2015, I believe, middle 2014. I was introduced to World of Warcraft, and that's the one that got me really hooked. I spent so much time playing it, so when I first started playing it, it just sucked me up. It just gave me that alternative reality to the childhood that I had lived so far. So every adventure that you can imagine and any fantasy that you could have, that game just made it possible. It just made it possible to spend hours on end just grinding and doing stuff in a game surrounded by other players. And it was just it became my reality, and I would spend hours on end every day playing it. And that became my main, main drive to do anything. I mean, my grades started to become very bad, and I would just look forward to just play World of Warcraft all the time, because it was what gave me motivation. It is what just gave me meaning. I put all the meaning I had was in that game. My social life started to decline. I started to meet less with friends and do less things outside. And I mean, finish school, go back home, boot the computer, and play the game up until late night. Don't do homework, and weekends would be playing all the time. I mean, in the game, if you're not familiar with it, you play with other online players, and it's possible. So it's a fantasy game, and it's possible for you to group up with different players and then do what you call a dungeon or a raid. And these dungeons would take you for a couple of hours 5-6 hours sometimes, so it would take a lot of time. So on the weekends it would be possible to just spend 8 to 10 hours in front of the computer, just taking breaks to piss and eat and whatever, but just going back every time you could. And that was my reality. And because of this, because of putting so much effort and meaning in a computer game, my mental health started to degrade very fast and very big. And I would start to develop first visible, or so you would see that I was starting to get depressed and have negative thoughts all the time. I barely socialized with anybody else. The game meant a lot to me. I slept very bad. I did not exercise, and the only time I felt good was when I played the game. I was going through some family issues at that time. Nothing big, it's just my perception of family issues, but we were moving a lot of houses, and at some point I had to move from Spain to Germany, and this all just stacked up together, and I had a mental breakdown. And at one point I just broke down, and I just started crying at my house in front of my mom. And that's the first time I told her about my mental issues. And I was just so this was the point where I would seek professional help. And from that point on, I visited well, it's not a psychologist, but let's say it was like kind of psychologist, just a person. I would just go once, twice a week. I would go to a facility, a mental clinic, and I would talk to an advisor, and he would just listen to my thoughts and try and advise me what to do, and or just help me just have a conversation and to just make sure I'm doing all right and I'm not harming myself. So at this point, this is a big turn point for me. So moving from one country to the other, I was going through some family difficulties, but big changes, and I made a big I had a big social circle in Germany, and I met most of the best friends that I have today I met in Germany. And I stopped playing video games soon after this. I played World of Warcraft for about 3-4 years, from about 14 to 18, and then it stopped abruptly because we moved houses. I couldn't set up my PC again, and I had to go back to school. And between having friends and I enjoyed more this German school than the Spanish school, I managed to just get rid of the addiction, and also my mental stability, my mental condition was slightly better due to the fact that I had friends and that I could just talk about myself and process negative feelings and thoughts, and just so at this point I'm living in Germany. I have to repeat high school, even though I almost finished it in Spain, because of my lack of motivation, and because I didn't like it, I just didn't make it. So I'm back in Germany, and I have this huge circle of friends. I'm feeling more energy, more positive. I start to go to the gym, and so For the next 2 years, I attend this advisor just once a week, mostly, to talk about my mental condition, and parallel to that, because I had so many friends, it just was very nice. I mean, every time I felt bad, I could just go to my friend's house and we'd just hang around and I'd forget about most of my troubles. So, yeah, 2 years pass like this. I finish my high school. I have bouts all the time, ups and downs during this time. I mean, I get very bad depressions for a couple of days. It's just a long time, and I've never journaled during this period, so I can't really recall it that accurate. But I remember having bouts of depression for days and sometimes weeks where I just feel bad, and well, it's just difficult to explain to someone that that doesn't have depression and that has never felt it. But it's just felt like being doomed and lost. All I just wanted to do was just be in my room, don't talk to anybody, and to distract me with anything that would just keep me away from my thoughts. And 2 years passed like this, ups and downs. I graduate high school, and I don't know what to do at this point. But so because I don't know what to do, I know that I don't want to go to uni because I don't like sitting around, and I like learning, but not so much at a time. So I do an apprenticeship. So for the next 3 years, I start an apprenticeship at a company. If I'm honest, the only reason I did that apprenticeship was because it had the best pay around in the whole area, and with the monthly payment of the apprenticeship, I could afford to move out. So that's what I did. I moved out, got my own place, and did the apprenticeship for 3 years. I just was quite stable. I still had all my friends and kept very busy. The work took a lot of time of my daily life, and then besides that, I enjoyed a lot exercising. I started doing martial arts, and that was amazing. It was very good because for the first time in my life, I found something that built up my mentality, that made it just showed me that it's not so bad as you think it is, and just going and doing martial arts gave me that possibility to wear myself out, to get rid of all the stress I had in myself, and at the same time to feel strong and powerful. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot, and I looked forward all the time to do martial arts, and it was something that gave me so much holding. It was just a great contributor to building up mental toughness and to help me improve my moods and mental condition. After 3 years, I finished the apprenticeship again. I don't know what to do. At this point, I can say that I don't have, like, I grew up without my dad. I just grew up with my mom and my sister, and I was always an introvert, and I always felt like different and lonely, and I had no guidance. So I believe a lot of the issues that I had mentally was because I had no guidance and there was no role model in my life. So I would just get distracted and take up the values that I just came across with video gaming, and don't know, whatever just came around that was meaningful to me. I just picked it up, and that's why I just always felt lost. thus far in my life. And still, after finishing the apprenticeship, now that I look back, I was lost. I was not even a mature guy. I finished my apprenticeship with 23 years of age, and I thought I was a grown-up guy. And now that I think back then, I was just a kid, just trying to figure out what to do. So I finished the apprenticeship. I feel quite good. I feel quite alright. I'm quite optimistic. So I don't want to stay in Germany anymore. I've spent now 6 years in Germany doing my high school and doing my apprenticeship. And my mom tells me, if you don't want to stay here, why don't you just go and do where you work on holiday? Yeah, just go somewhere else and try and travel. Because my parents, they used to travel a lot when they were before they had me and my sister. So they were used to travel, and they encouraged me to just leave Germany and go somewhere else and have some do some long-term travel to clear my head and figure out what I want to do. So with this idea, I bought a working holiday visa for New Zealand, and I went there. So I bought the working holiday visa with the intention of going there, and I booked a one-way ticket to Bangkok. And at 23 years of age, yeah, I bought a backpack, some proper hiking boots, and I went to Bangkok after finishing my apprenticeship. The idea was just to travel a little bit around Southeast Asia before going to New Zealand, and then settling down there and starting to work. Um, so I fly to Bangkok, and from there I travel for about 2-3 months between different countries. It was a blast of a time. It was amazing. I mean, unbelievable. Every day was just, I could just do what I just wanted to, and everything was cheap and easy, safe. You met a lot of different people from different countries, and it was just amazing. It was so cool. The most remarkable thing was just going to Vietnam and meeting all the backpackers over there, and they would just go, look, you can just buy a motorbike here in Vietnam and then drive around without a license or even insurance. I was like, really? He says, yeah, you can do it, of course. So I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm here now, and this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Let's do it. Let's try it out. So just met up with all the backpackers and bought motorbikes. And yeah, my motorbike cost me $250, and I had to learn how to drive with gear, which I didn't know. I didn't know how to drive a motorbike. I didn't even have the license. So just bought the bike, get it, just put it on, and then start driving in the middle of Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City. Drive around and get used to it, and at some point you feel confident. You're like, I can do this. This feels awesome. I got my own motorbike. Now I can go wherever I want. That's amazing. And it was. I drove all the way from the south up to the north, about 1,000 kilometers through Vietnam. Incredible. Very good experience. Really nice times. So during this time, I don't really feel depressed or sad. Um, I was just distracted all the time, and because I had no boundaries and no responsibilities, there was no point in feeling sad. And yeah, I had a great time. At some point I go back to New Zealand, and I try to settle down. I try to find long-term work, but it doesn't work out. I travel around a bit in New Zealand, and yeah, it doesn't work out. And I get an opportunity to go to work in Melbourne, Australia. So I buy the visa to go over there, and I go to Melbourne, and I start a full-time job at a composite factory. So doing the job that I learned in Germany, and I lived in a hostel. Most of the time I spent in the same hostel in Melbourne, and that was tough. That was quite tough. I mean, working 40 hours a week and coming back to a hostel full of people, a lot of noise and dirt, and a lot of partying on the weekends. I'm not an extrovert. I don't like going out so much. I've done it a lot of times when I was younger, but didn't like it so much. Just getting pissed and trying to go out and impress the girls and whatnot. Not my kind of thing. And well, that was a lot in Melbourne like that. Everyone would just get drugged and would just go out on all the weekends, get fucked, and living every day as if it was the last one. So during this time, my depression starts to come back again. I start to feel very lonely and lost. I'm far away from my friends. I'm in a hostel where I don't connect to most of the people, and I'm quite busy and I have to work a lot. And yeah, it all stacks up together, and I start to get more lost and lost. Don't know how to explain it, but I just got carried away. I lost the momentum of how to travel and what to do with my life at this point. So I'm in this hostel, still in Melbourne, and I worked there for 6 months. And at some point, after working a lot and not spending most of the money, I just saved a lot, and I thought I'd go back. I went back to New Zealand, traveled most of New Zealand on my own without meeting anybody specifically or anybody that I just connected to very well. So yeah, and time goes by like this. I go back to Australia at some point. I go to the west coast, to the city of Perth, spend 3 months over there because I still have a working visa, and I get a job as a bartender, and I liked it a bit. It was a nice busy bar. I've never worked as a bartender. At this point, I start to develop, I remember, insomnia, and I slept very bad. I lost a lot of my weight during this time. Insomnia, weight loss, yeah, depression. It all just starts to stick up like it's a snowball effect. Just one negative experience just stacks up to the next one, and yeah, it's a rolling effect. And so I traveled for 1.5 years, from which about 10 to 11 months I spent working in Australia. The rest I was traveling around. And after 1.5 years, I got so tired. I've got insomnia. I don't know what to do. I just feel lost, completely lost. I remember I started journaling during this time. I don't have the papers on me, but I just remember that I wrote down that I feel lost, and I've got a bubble around me that just isolates me, and it makes it so difficult because I'm in this bubble. I feel like I am alone, and I don't know how to get out of that bubble. It's just like I'm enclosed. I'm in a prison, and I'm in my own cell, and I can't get out, and I don't know how it is outside. Don't know how to explain it. Um, I got back to Germany after 1.5 years of traveling. Before starting the travels, I weighed about 79 kilograms, and when I come back to Germany after 1.5 years, I remember going onto the scale and I weighed 66 kilograms, and yeah, it's not a good sign. I knew I wasn't feeling right. So at this point is where I feel very insecure, very lost. I don't know really what to do. my travels did not work out as I wanted to. The idea was to settle down outside of Germany, just find permanent work in either Melbourne or New Zealand. That didn't work out, so I have no vision, no mental clarity what to do, and no purpose. So it all just makes me feel stressed and lost, and yeah. It's a long time though, and I can't really recall what it felt like. I know it was sad, and I was lost. That's what I know. So I come back again. I'm in Germany at this point, and after my travels, and since I don't know what to do, I thought like I picked up reading whilst with my travelings because I did not have any computer, there was no TV, and I bought an ebook and I started readings, made it a habit, and I enjoyed it. I mean, I enjoyed a lot reading about scientific stuff, philosophy, history, and I picked up some books, and from there it just made it a habit to read every day, at least an hour. So I enjoyed it a lot. I didn't read for too much, but I enjoyed it. I remember the book that got me back into reading was Dune. I think it's from Frank Herbert. I'm not sure the author. Frank Herbert, maybe. Dune, the sci-fi novel, a masterpiece. It got me quite hooked. It was really nice. I mean, unbelievable. And from there, after reading Dune, I just got back into reading and started reading other textbooks related to science, philosophy, and things that interested me, nutrition and exercise and sports and stuff like that. So yeah, because I like reading, I thought like, why not go to uni? Let's just go to uni, get a better degree, and with a better degree I'll probably have more chances, more possibilities of what to do. So I go to a uni in the east of Germany. I move into a shared flat with other people, and it all just gets worse from here. At least mentally, it was awful. I mean, every year it was just getting worse and worse. Uni did not work for me. Going to uni, the routine of uni was just, you have classes between 9 or 8 in the morning and 6 p.m. in the afternoon, and you have breaks sometimes in between. And it's just going there and sitting around and listening to the tutor or the master, and listening to input and more input and theory and whatever he just has on his projector. And lots of input and sitting around. Same as school. I thought it'd be different, but the only difference was that you don't need to go there. It's up to you if you want to go or if you don't want to go. The thing is that just after every semester you just have to write the exams, and if you pass, it's good, you can keep on. But if you don't pass, you gotta repeat, or at some point you can't keep going on. And I didn't cope with it. It didn't work out. I couldn't pick up all the subjects. It was difficult after so much time out of school, and at this point, regarding my mental health, I was totally lost. No friends. I barely had any people that I spoke to. I didn't connect to anybody. I'm far away again from friends and close relatives. My family's quite small, and my mom's far away, but she wouldn't understand my state anyway. And so I remember having insomnia. I had bouts of insomnia for weeks and months at a time. I felt weak. I start to develop aches and pains in my muscles. I went to the doctor twice in 2 years related to this because I felt so bad, and because I started to do calisthenics, so body weight movements, and I couldn't improve. I just could not improve. Every time I work out, I would just have muscle aches and pains, and instead of adapting to it, I would just break down for days or sometimes a week at a time and not able to improve or keep on working out. So I'd go to the doctor and tell him my situation and stuff. But they couldn't find anything. Of course they can't, because it's not any physiological, there were physiological aspects that were affecting me, but it was a lot of it was mental now that I look back onto it. And yeah, doctors couldn't help me, and I kept on going like this. So the sorry, the conclusion is just that up to all my life thus far, I've just been lost and mentally unstable, and depression was just always coming in bouts in during the year, would feel me just very, very bad. And during uni it was just so tough when you're alone and you get these bouts of depression. I don't know how to explain it, but you start to see an exit to this, and it's suicide. Suddenly you feel in pain, you feel in agony, you don't know what to do, and it's such a horrific situation that I wouldn't wish it on anybody, not even the people that I most hate. It's just, yeah, it's tough. It's very tough. So time passes by like this. I go to uni for 1.5 years, but due to my mental condition, it doesn't work out. I can't focus. I cannot learn, and I cannot memorize and learn the subjects to write the exams. So I just fail, and after 1.5 years, I quit uni and I go back to Spain. I go back to Spain to help my dad with an apartment, to renovate the apartment, and this was all leading up to explain that this is the point where I believe I felt the worst. This was about 4 years ago, after quitting uni. So in between the time of coming back from my travels, going to uni, and then a year in Spain, this would sum up to about 4 years. It was the worst ever. It was years of just spending my time worthless, doing fuck all in the end. Now that I think back on it, I just didn't know what to do, and I felt so bad most of the time. Just bad all the time, and in pain and agony, and jeez, I couldn't even rest. I couldn't even sleep properly. Everything was just tiresome. I wish I could take my life all the time. So yeah, it's when someone doesn't have depression and someone asks you, what does it feel like to have depression? No matter what type of words I choose, I can't explain it. It's just it depends on what kinds of words I choose and how I say it. It might give you a kind of impression, but I can't explain it. You'd have to experience it to know what it is. And I can't really explain it. It's just a feeling of doom and agony that feels bad every moment in your life. Every second that passes, you just feel awful and wrecked. You're not yourself. You're not you. You're just a shell of material without a soul. At some point I read the book of Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And as a way to gain perspective of what it is to have problems and how bad it can be in life. But Viktor Frankl writes in A Man's Search for Meaning at the beginning of the book, no matter how I write what I experienced in the concentration camps, there are no words that can capture what I have been through. And I would say that's true. Yeah, that I understand that. I understand that probably. No matter, the book is unbelievable. I mean, that he had the courage to write about it. But it's true that because I read the book, it doesn't mean that I know what he went through. And it's unbelievable what he went through. I mean, I'm so glad he wrote the book. It just gave me a new perspective of what pain is and what being lost is and what it means to be alive. But yeah, just taking his words, depression is not something that I can explain with words. It just has to be experienced, and I wish for anyone out there to not have it. So I digress very far, but after quitting uni and going back to Spain, this is 2019, so this was the top point of my conditioning, where I felt very, very bad, and depression was just, I had bouts all the time. There was not really a moment where I felt at ease. I didn't sleep well. I would think a lot about death, about suicide. The only reason that I didn't commit suicide is because I was too weak for it. I am a weak man in the end. I have a weak personality, and I was just too weak to take my life. I just couldn't do it. But I thought about it all the time. It's just, I got to end this pain that's just hurting me so much. I have to end it. I need to get out of this. And death is the only solution I see to this. But I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. I was too weak. I want to stress at this point that nobody really knows. Nobody close to me knows about this. I mean, I'm doing this video to express my perspective of how I felt it and how it was for me, but I've talked a couple of times to my mom and to my dad, and I broke down in front of them and cried, but they don't understand because they don't have depression and they don't have suicidal thoughts, so they don't understand me, and it's just pointless to try and explain it to them when they don't understand it, even if they are my parents, but they don't know what it feels like. And so that makes you just feel so lost and not not being loved. I mean, if your own parents don't understand you, then what's the point in all of this? That was my perspective, at least. I mean, I don't want to talk bad about my parents. It was just my perspective at that point. And so yes, also during between 2015 and 2020, during this whole period where I felt very depressed, I developed a binge eating disorder. So because I feel in agony all the time, I don't think I sleep very well. I have no friends. I have no relationship, no girlfriend, nothing. So I develop a habit of finding pleasure in eating, and it just develops into binge eating disorder, where the only moments in my life where I would find peace were when I was eating. And I've never gotten fat, I believe, but I got quite a little bit overweight. I stacked up some fat. That wasn't a bad thing. The bad thing is just like when you live your life and the only part in your life is the time when you eat during the day, then it's sad. It's very sad. I mean, I would spend the day and plan everything around when am I going to have my meal? When am I going to feel at ease? When am I going to not be in agony? And yeah, just eating was the only moments where I would just be able to shut down my negative thoughts and disconnect. So eating was just a very important thing to me. And I developed that binge eating disorder. When I had very big bouts of depression and feel very bad, then I would just buy junk food and just watch a movie to distract myself and eat junk food just to cope with the situation. It's just how lost I felt. It was my mechanism of beating the agony, of fighting all that pain that was inside of me. Because whilst this was happening too, I couldn't exercise anymore. And every time I exercised, I felt very strong muscle pains and very sore. And yeah, I did not recover. I mean, it did more damage than it helped me. So I couldn't properly exercise. All I could do was just walk and do light movements, but no strength training, no real conditioning. Every time I exercised, I just broke down, and it took a week to just get fit back again without really progressing. And other side effects of the whole conditioning, of my whole condition, were insomnia, as always, were a big part of my life this far. And so insomnia, the binge eating disorder, my health at this point, I would believe, I don't know, I don't want to make any assumptions, and I'm not a doctor, but I would assume that I would have had developed an autoimmune disease or condition, and I was breaking apart internally, and that's why I felt so bad all the time when I exercised, for example, because I had so much internal inflammation that my body would just not cope with any more external stress, and it would take me so much time to just recover. My digestion was awful. It was very bad, and because I also ate a lot, so between the eating a lot and the mental condition of depression, I was just a wreck, total wreck. Yeah. Um, all of this happens, and nobody knows about it. I mean, nobody really knows about what I'm going through. When I go outside, the people just go and look at me, and when I talk to somebody, I don't explain this to the people because I don't know how to explain it. So I just smile and just pretend everything is all right, and just go on as if nothing bad is happening. It's just everyone has their struggles, right? So no one around me understands what I'm going through. That at any point I just feel like jumping from a cliff. Just because I'm in so much agony that I can't take it anymore. Yeah. And so this was a big, not a big one, but a long recap and a slow talk. I just wanted to emphasize how it came, how I experienced it, and how it impacted my life. I mean, the reason where I am today and why I've not had that much success with my career or my relationships and social life is because depression was a big part of my life, and it was just taking a lot of energy, and coping with this mental condition made me a different person that just didn't know what to do and had no purpose and no vision. A lot of energy, or most of the energy I had, went into my depression, my negative thoughts. I am a pessimist from nature on. I am a pessimist and I'm an introvert. I don't like people, at least not in big groups. And I have nothing against people, but it's just I don't want to be surrounded by too many people. Or I prefer also to have less friends than too many. And it's difficult for me to talk about problems and my personal things. That's why it was so difficult for me to find a solution to my condition, because I had no guidance and I didn't know what to do. And if you don't seek actively, or if you have no help from somebody else that knows what you're going through, then this could take for a long time. It could go for indefinitely. And yeah, it's just what it is. It's just what happened. And I'm the last bout of depression I had was about a year ago. I feel stable now. I feel all right. It's unbelievable how glad I am that suddenly I don't have to fear again to have negative thoughts and suicidal thoughts. It's just freeing. I have picked up habits and developed methods that have made me realize how to get out of this condition and how to improve myself bit by bit. And after a long period, I start to feel different and better. And Well, this whole hour-long video was just to make the point that I know what it feels like to be at the bottom of a deep and dark hole, and that it can get really, really bad just by yourself. I mean, this whole thing just all took part, it all took place in my mind. It was all a condition in my mind, and it took so much of my life to realize it. It took so much time to realize it, and I just want to say that it's possible. It's possible to change, and it's possible to make it out of it, to improve yourself. I've read somewhere that you shouldn't call a depression a sickness. You're not sick. You don't need a pill, and you don't need anything. You don't need So you're not sick. You have a mental condition, and your brain is telling you that something is out of balance. You're not living according to your values and your meaning. And until you fix this within yourself, within your mind, and there will be no balance, and there will be no getting better for yourself. So whether you find external guidance from somebody else that helps you, which is easier, it's a lot easier probably when you are in treatment and somebody else helps you, or whether you do it like myself, you realize it on your own and you develop habits and methods that make you cope with your mental condition towards an improvement and getting better. It doesn't matter. The point is that it's possible, and that's the only thing that you need to know. I don't remember I do remember the last time that I had a depression, but it's a year ago now, and I can't imagine that I went through that. It's just unbelievable how bad it felt. So yeah, if anyone just made it through this amazingly boring video, maybe to you, but just know that it's possible. Let me put it this way. Have you ever in your life felt at a point that you were at ease, where everything was fine, where you felt happy and peaceful, like I did before I got depressed and sad and started to develop negative thoughts? I was very happy during my childhood. I was so happy I couldn't describe it in words. I was free and total at peace with myself. So I knew there was a condition, there was a point in my life that I came from where I felt at peace that was in the past. So if I came from a place where I was at peace and I went to a condition where I was a wreck and a mess and I was depressed, that meant to me that it is possible that there is a conditioning in the future where I feel good again, where I feel at peace with myself. And this is what I realized by myself, is that you have to develop a vision into the future of where you are going to be. And it could take a long time, it could take a very long time, but an axiom of yourself is that life is not forever. Your life is limited, and how you want to live your life, it's up to you. It depends on what is meaningful to you. And to develop a vision about yourself with what you want to do with your life is the most important thing, I believe, for me. It's just the most important thing that you have to do. So the most important question in your life would be, for me, is who am I? Who am I, and what do I want to do with my life, with this finite and precious time that I spend on this planet? And it's okay to have, I mean, if you have depression and you cannot avoid it, then it's what it is. I cannot avoid to have a weak mentality. It's what it is. What's happened, but that doesn't matter. What matters is what you can change, and you cannot change the past. It's only the future that you can change. So whatever condition you are in, you have to develop a vision about yourself in the future where you will be better, where you will improve, and you will feel at peace with yourself. And this is the most important thing, to start improving and to live a peaceful life, which is the whole point of being alive, isn't it? I mean, what's the whole point in living a sad and meaningless life? It's not about being happy every day and sad then and happy tomorrow and whatnot. It's about finding meaning, and within that meaning, be at peace with yourself at every moment of your life. So I figured it out for myself. Who am I, and what is it I want to do with me, with myself, or in my life? I don't know it very concretely. I don't know it precisely, but I know what I don't want to do, and I know who I am now, and what I've been through mentally. And yes, if anyone out there just gains any insight about this, if I could just help anyone, it's just all I just wanted. It's just to help anybody that I could. That you're not alone. That probably a lot of people go through these moments in life, and you shouldn't. I understand that you might think that suicide is an exit, but just try, hang on, and find your purpose. There is one for any one of you. It's just a matter of finding the right meaning. So, as a closing thought, if you happen to know somebody that is feeling depressed, has negative thoughts and suicidal thoughts, then don't tell them it's gonna be alright, because that's the last time I wanted to hear. It's the last thing I wanted to hear when I felt depressed and I told somebody I feel bad. It's just when somebody tells you, oh, it's gonna be alright, it's just fine, let's just go outside, let's have a beer and whatnot. That's the fucking last thing I wanted to hear. That person that is depressed and that is just totally in agony. He doesn't love himself, doesn't know how to cope with the situation. So don't tell him anything he doesn't want to hear. He won't understand. What you ought to do is just hug him very strongly. Just hug him very strongly and don't let him go. Really. Just tell him you got him and that you are there. And that you will help him. And no matter what. Because that person doesn't know anymore what it means to be alive. And you can teach him again what it means to be alive. Well, that's if you know somebody, and if it's yourself that's affected. If in this video you felt that my life experience is something that happened to you, I just want to let you know that you're not alone and that it is possible to change again for the better, to improve and to heal yourself. It is possible. You have to believe it. If you don't believe it, then it won't happen. But the first step that you have to do is you have to believe into a vision, a purpose that you want to have with what you want to do with your life. And it's got to be better than the condition, that the situation that you are in. And you have to be patient. I know it's painful, and I know it's all words that I'm saying, but you have to believe it. And step by step you will improve. You will. Just small improvements, but that's all it takes, and that's all you have to believe in, is that bit by bit you will improve and it will get better. The agony will stop and you will get control back over your life and be at peace again with yourself without feeling all the time in agony. Yeah, I believe it's long enough now, and I'd like to close this video, or stop the video, and wish you all the best. Really, hang on. I know what it's like to be depressed. Take care of yourself. It's gonna be alright. Cheers, thank you for just sticking around if you made it so far, and I really I'd love for anybody that has been through my situation to really start feeling better like I am, and to get out of it and to find purpose and meaning again in their life. That's all I want. Alright, cheers.